Countless nights I lie awake wondering if Elton John was a goth, a straight, and a filmmaker, what sort of films would he make? Well, it seems like Tim Burton has made it his life mission to answer this question, delivering a filmography that ranges from the dark and whimsical classics like the Keaton Batman films, Sleepy Hollow, or the Sweeney Todd musical, to the colorful, light-hearted classics like Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or my personal favorite, Big Fish. Creating a style so onto his own that anything that even remotely similar comes close to it gets immediately described as Burtonesque. However, no great artist comes without his fair share of criticism. Known for prioritizing the visual aesthetics of a film over story, and making some characters so weird and wacky it's hard to relate to, this has me wondering, how does his latest film, Beetlejuice, fare against this criticism? Does the gloomy Rocket Man deliver an epic experience destined to the heights of the moon? Or is this shit gonna blow?
1 minute 15 seconds, velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles, downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
And with that in mind, let's get this review rolling.
The juice is loose.
Now, I'll admit, when the production for this film was first announced, I was a tad bit worried. Keep in mind, when the original first came out in 1988, there was really nothing you could compare this movie to. The only person who gave me an accurate review was my Uncle Frank, who said, "It was like taking acid, going to the circus, and dying." After seeing the film myself, I thought, well, spot on, Uncle Frank. But more professional and less adventurous critics called it fantastically creepy, bursting with fun and visually brilliant. Fucking dorks. Clearly not as cool as my Uncle Frank. Live on, you legend. Suicide isn't the answer for everyone, but it was for you! The point is the original was made at a time when people took drugs to enjoy films. Now people take drugs to forget films.
So when I have got them lined up on the matting, I teach them music, crocheting and cutting.
Dilly-dop, 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 wop-boo. Dilly-dop, 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 wop-boo. Dilly-dop, 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 wop-boo.
This is why we have a fentanyl crisis.
Widdly-wow, widdly-wow.
Dinner and a show.
This is a real movie.
Widdly-wow, wow, wow. A-doop-a-doop-a-doo.
They spent $100 million on this. The point is, audiences today have seen it all. But what made the original so much fun and so appealing was watching and experiencing something so bold, so new, so unapologetically weird. You couldn't wait to tell your friends and family about it. And this is exactly what set Tim Burton apart from all the other directors. His characters, his style, his choice in themes, his quirky comedy mixed with romance, ironically enhanced by gloom and sadness. And the more you watch his films, the more you get a sense of who he is inside. An artist first and a filmmaker second. So this naturally brings up the following question. 35 years later, does Tim Burton do justice by his original film? Or is this just another Hollywood attempt for a cash grab by throwing nostalgia in your face and hoping you'd bite? And with that question in mind, grab your favorite beverage, hit like and subscribe, get ready, because this review is going to the moon! The plot. Lydia Deetz from the first movie is all grown up now, and she hosts a show called Ghost House, a supernatural talk show, produced by her boyfriend, a slimebag named Rory. Lydia is informed that her father died because he was eaten by sharks, because his plane fell out of the sky, because he was flying abroad, because he was into watching birds mating on the beach. Tough day for anyone to find out that not only is their father dead, but he was also a pussy. Shortly after, Delilah, Lydia, and Rory pick up Astrid, Lydia's daughter, to attend the funeral. We quickly learn that Astrid and Lydia's relationship is a bit shaky. Astrid doesn't believe that Mom sees ghosts and that her show is a scam. She believes this because her mother doesn't seem to be able to communicate with her deceased father. Following the funeral, Rory hijacks the attention to propose to Lydia in front of all the attendees. She begrudgingly accepts. Repulsed by this, Astrid then storms off on a bike into town. She then continues to wreck said bike into a tree. Above her is a treehouse with a boy named Jeremy in it. The two strike up a friendship, and she continues to visit him over the next few days. Meanwhile, in the afterworld, Danny DeVito gets drunk and accidentally frees Beetlejuice's ex-wife Dolores, who just so happens to be the leader of an ancient Italian death cult from the 1600s. In other words, a typical Philly gal. She and Beetlejuice have some unsettled business, so off to find him she goes. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Astrid learns that Jeremy is in fact a ghost, trapped in the place of his death. His spirit can't move on to the afterlife for some reason, and so he incites her to help him. In return, he offers her a chance to see her father again. Reluctant at first, but then she agrees. Back at the house, Lydia learns from her realtor that Jeremy was in fact a kid that killed his parents many years ago in that house, and is himself deceased. She rushes over to save Astrid, but it's too late. The two have crossed over into the abyss via magical portal. Desperate, she calls upon Beetlejuice for help. He agrees under the terms that she marries him. This will allow him to stay amongst the living and avoid Dolores. Oh, the things we do to avoid our exes. Oh, what, baby? You're back? Oh, I'm married to this bitch now. I guess we should just go our separate ways. Well played, Beetlejuice. Left with no other option, Lydia agrees, and into the abyss they go. Astrid learns that Jeremy tricked her into exchanging her life for his. She now has to stay amongst the dead, and he gets to go back to the living. As she gets carried off, she spots her dad and calls for him for help. Astrid gets thrown onto a soul train which carries dead souls off to the forever, but before it takes off, Lydia pulls her out and they escape. With the help of Beetlejuice and her father, they stop Jeremy from going to the land of the living. They themselves return to the land of the living just in time for the wedding to Rory. Beetlejuice crashes the party and injects Rory with the truth serum. Rory then admits that he doesn't love her and in fact only wanted to exploit her for her money. But honestly, in today's society, that's not the worst thing to find out about your spouse on the day of your wedding. Believe me, I've seen some shit.
Ellen, I'm pregnant.
Whose baby is that? Who's the man who did that to you? Gators bitches better be using Jimmy's!
As Beetlejuice intends to marry Lydia, Dolores arrives. Using the Book of the Dead, Astrid opens a portal that allows a dune-like sandworm to break in and eat Dolores and Rory. Afterwards, Astrid reveals to Beetlejuice that according to the same handbook, that the contract that he made with Lydia is null and void. Therefore, there is no obligation for Lydia to go through with the wedding. Pissed off by this, Beetlejuice goes back home. Delilah reveals that she's dead now because she bought some poisonous snakes that bit her. The film ends with Lydia announcing on her show that she's going to discontinue it and instead focus all her attention in being a better mom. Now, if at some point during this summary you thought, what the fuck? You're not the only one. There's even a whole subplot with William Dafoe playing a dead character who's an actor playing a cop detective. It's all very confusing. Honestly, they could have cut that out and it would have done nothing for the story. Despite its shortcomings, the plot does get going relatively well. However, not all the setups deliver a satisfying payoff. Case in point, Astrid's yearning for her father was done incredibly well. It was the driving force that got her to go against her better judgment and trust Jeremy and enter into the abyss. Great setup, and Jenna Ortega did it very well. But when she actually has a moment with her father in the afterlife, the payoff is relatively poor. It's a light hug and an exchange of few words, and that's about it. A real missed opportunity to satisfy the emotions and imaginations of audiences who can relate with losing a loved one, and given the opportunity to converse with them or see them again one more time, Astrid gets this and she says practically nothing. The whole reason she's so gloomy is because of this loss. This was an opportunity for some real character resolution here, and nothing comes of it. Another disappointing payoff was the meeting between Beetlejuice and Dolores. Both were portrayed most excellent by their actors, but we just spent an entire film watching the jester demon terrified and on the run from a determined soul-sucking ex who won't stop at anything, and when they finally meet, she gets eaten by a discount dune worm. So what's the verdict? Is this a worthy sequel? Should I go see it? Will I hit like and subscribe?
Yes, 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 no, no!
Are you really gonna hit like and subscribe?
Make me believe it!
Yes, yes, yes!
Alrighty then. In spite of the shortcomings, this is an excellent film. The cast delivered excellent performances for what the characters demanded. The set design, the production was mostly practical. The costumes, the special effects of all the deceased characters. This reminded me a lot of the talent and efforts of all the special effects departments before CGI. Practical sets have a magic to them that we just don't get with CGI. Perhaps the best era to do it was the 90s. Films like The Addams Family or Casper are great examples of this. Those sets and those costumes were created by artists who happen to be craftsmen. And there's a magic in that echoes to the very depths of the human soul. It's a different kind of appreciation, one that makes you wonder and think and see things differently. A reimagination of things that push and pull convention in a manner that fulfills and inspires. And that is the power of great craftsmanship. That is the power of good art, unlike that shit Rothko makes. And so is Beetlejuice that thing? The perfect culmination of craft and art? Well, not quite. But it came close. You see, I love the films like The Addams Family and Casper. I enjoy rewatching them with friends and family who knew nothing about them. This film was fun, and though I'm glad it exists, and I'm thankful that Tim Burton is still making films, I don't see myself rewatching it anytime soon. It succeeded in reminding me of the golden era of practical effects, but when comparing apples to apples, the former wins. So why did I enjoy this film so much in spite of its shortcomings? Why is it doing so good at the box office? Why do I think this is a movie still worth seeing? Simple. What it did for audiences in 1998, it's doing again now 36 years later. Pushing and pulling the imagination, entertaining with character, actual character. And it's achieving this not by depending on CGI, but by doing it through practical means. And this in today's world is ironically revolutionary. Though CGI is fun and all, Hollywood executives have become a little too hooked on it. It's like the stripper that tells you she loves you and you believe it. Yes, it's fun to play with them tits, but it's fake. It's not real. And just like Courtney, it will leave you feeling hollow and null. You need to go back to what's real, Hollywood. Give me passion. Give me love. Build your sets, make your costumes, travel on location, fly helicopters, shoot guns, learn how to fight. Because when you do that, it's real to me, baby. Be sure to like and subscribe. Did you enjoy that video? Did you hate it? If you said yes or no to any of those questions, you will love my review of Am I Racist? Possibly the funniest comedy of the year. Check it out. It's literally got millions of views.